Question 1. Benchmark analysis indicates that two key patient care processes, medication administration and patient discharge, exhibit different measures of dispersion in their adherence to established protocols. Process A, medication administration, has a range of 15% and a standard deviation of 8%. Process B, patient discharge, has a range of 10% and a standard deviation of 3%. Which process warrants immediate, deeper investigation for quality improvement initiatives and why? Option A. Process B, because its smaller range indicates a more tightly controlled process overall, requiring less attention. Option B. Process A, because its larger standard deviation suggests greater variability and inconsistency in adherence to protocols, indicating a higher potential for patient safety risks. Option C. Process A, because its larger range indicates the widest spread of adherence, making it the most critical to address. Option D. Process B, because its smaller standard deviation suggests it is performing optimally and requires no further investigation. The correct answer is B. Process A, because its larger standard deviation suggests greater variability and inconsistency in adherence to protocols, indicating a higher potential for patient safety risks. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires the certified quality improvement associate to interpret statistical measures of dispersion in the context of regulatory compliance and patient safety, rather than simply performing calculations. The pressure to quickly identify the most impactful area for improvement, while adhering to the strict guidelines of the Certified Quality Improvement Associate framework, necessitates a deep understanding of how these measures inform decision-making. The correct approach involves recognizing that a larger standard deviation, when compared to the range, signifies a greater spread of data points around the mean. This indicates more variability in the process, which, in a healthcare setting, can translate to inconsistent patient outcomes or adherence to protocols. For a certified quality improvement associate, identifying processes with high variability is crucial for targeted intervention, as it suggests a lack of standardization and potential for error. This aligns with the core principles of quality improvement, which aim to reduce variation and improve predictability and reliability of processes, ultimately enhancing patient safety and care quality, as implicitly guided by the ethical responsibilities inherent in healthcare quality roles. An incorrect approach would be to focus solely on the range as the primary indicator of the need for improvement. While the range provides the simplest measure of spread, it is highly sensitive to outliers and does not account for the distribution of the data within that range. Relying solely on the range could lead to misallocation of resources if the outliers are rare events and the majority of the data points are clustered tightly. This would be a failure in professional judgment by not utilizing a more robust statistical measure to understand the overall process behavior. Another incorrect approach would be to prioritize the process with the smallest variance without considering its context relative to the mean or other performance indicators. Variance, while a measure of spread, is in squared units, making it less intuitive for direct comparison across different scales. More importantly, a small variance might exist in a process that is consistently performing poorly, but consistently. The goal of quality improvement is not just to reduce variation, but to improve performance towards a desired standard or target. Focusing solely on minimizing variance without considering the overall performance level would be a misapplication of quality improvement principles. A further incorrect approach would be to dismiss the need for further investigation based on the initial statistical measures alone, assuming that the observed dispersion is acceptable without understanding the underlying causes or potential impact on patient care. This demonstrates a lack of proactive problem solving and a failure to engage in the systematic inquiry required for effective quality improvement. Professional decision-making in this context requires a structured approach. First, understand the statistical measures in relation to the process being measured and its criticality. Second, consider the regulatory and ethical implications of the observed variation. Third, use the measures to prioritize areas for deeper root cause analysis. And finally, develop and implement targeted interventions based on that analysis. Question 2. Performance analysis shows a significant increase in customer complaints related to service response times. To address this, a quality improvement team proposes analyzing recent customer interaction logs, including call recordings and chat transcripts, to identify patterns and root causes. What is the most appropriate initial step for the quality improvement team to take? Option A. Review existing customer consent agreements and organizational privacy policies to determine the permissible scope of using interaction data for quality improvement initiatives. Option B. Anonymize all customer interaction data before commencing the analysis to ensure compliance with privacy regulations. Option C. Immediately begin analyzing all available customer interaction logs to identify common themes and bottlenecks in service delivery. Option D. Proceed with the analysis, assuming that all customer interaction data is implicitly available for quality improvement purposes as part of service delivery. The correct answer is C. Immediately begin analyzing all available customer interaction logs to identify common themes and bottlenecks in service delivery. Explanation: this scenario is professionally challenging because it requires balancing the pursuit of quality improvement with the ethical and regulatory obligations concerning customer data privacy and consent. The Certified Quality Improvement Associate must navigate the potential for misuse of customer information while seeking to enhance service delivery. Careful judgment is required to ensure that any quality improvement initiatives involving customer data are conducted with transparency and adherence to established guidelines. The correct approach involves a thorough review of existing customer consent agreements and privacy policies to determine the scope of data usage permitted for quality improvement purposes. This approach is right because it prioritizes regulatory compliance and ethical data handling. Specifically, it aligns with the principles of data protection and customer trust, ensuring that any analysis or improvement activities are conducted within the boundaries of what customers have agreed to and what is legally permissible. This proactive review prevents potential breaches of privacy and maintains customer confidence, which is fundamental to long-term relationship management and quality initiatives. An incorrect approach would be to proceed with analyzing customer interaction data without first verifying the scope of consent. This fails to uphold the regulatory requirement to respect customer privacy and obtain appropriate consent for data usage. Another incorrect approach is to assume that all customer interaction data is automatically available for quality improvement analysis. This overlooks the specific legal and ethical obligations to protect sensitive customer information and can lead to significant regulatory penalties and reputational damage. A third incorrect approach is to anonymize data without understanding the potential for re-identification, which may still violate privacy regulations if not performed rigorously and in accordance with best practices. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with understanding the specific regulatory requirements and ethical considerations related to customer data. This involves consulting relevant privacy policies, consent forms, and legal frameworks before initiating any data-driven quality improvement activities. The process should include a risk assessment to identify potential privacy vulnerabilities and the implementation of appropriate safeguards. Transparency with customers about data usage for quality improvement, where feasible and appropriate, further strengthens ethical practice. Question 3. System analysis indicates that a critical quality improvement initiative requires the development of a new data reporting module, which is heavily dependent on the IT department's resources and expertise. The quality improvement team has outlined a desired timeline for implementation. However, initial informal inquiries suggest that the IT department has a significant backlog of existing projects and may not be able to meet the quality team's proposed deadline without compromising other essential organizational functions. What is the most appropriate approach for the Certified Quality Improvement Associate to take in this situation? Option A. Inform the IT department of the quality improvement team's required timeline and instruct them to prioritize the development of the new reporting module above all other pending projects. Option B. Immediately escalate the issue to senior management, highlighting the potential delay in the quality improvement initiative due to IT's perceived lack of capacity, and request their intervention to reallocate IT resources. Option C. Schedule a formal meeting with the IT department leadership and key technical staff to discuss the quality improvement initiative's requirements, understand their current workload and technical constraints, and collaboratively develop a realistic implementation plan that balances the quality initiative's needs with IT's capacity. Option D. Proceed with developing the reporting module based on the quality team's initial timeline, assuming the IT department will prioritize this critical quality improvement work and adjust their existing schedules accordingly. The correct answer is C. Schedule a formal meeting with the IT department leadership and key technical staff to discuss the quality improvement initiative's requirements, understand their current workload and technical constraints, and collaboratively develop a realistic implementation plan that balances the quality initiative's needs with IT's capacity. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in quality improvement, ensuring effective communication and collaboration across different departments with potentially conflicting priorities. The professional challenge lies in navigating these differing perspectives to achieve a unified quality objective, which requires careful judgment to balance departmental needs with the overarching goal of patient safety and regulatory compliance. Miscommunication or a lack of collaboration can lead to delays, errors, and ultimately, a failure to meet quality standards, potentially impacting patient care and exposing the organization to regulatory scrutiny. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves proactively engaging all relevant stakeholders, including the IT department, to understand their constraints and collaboratively develop a realistic implementation plan. This approach aligns with the principles of effective quality management, which emphasize interdepartmental cooperation and open communication. Specifically, it reflects the ethical obligation to ensure that quality improvement initiatives are implemented in a way that minimizes disruption and maximizes effectiveness, considering all operational aspects. From a regulatory perspective, this collaborative method supports the development and implementation of robust quality systems that are more likely to be sustained and effective, as required by quality improvement frameworks. Incorrect approaches analysis. An approach that focuses solely on the immediate needs of the quality improvement team without considering the IT department's workload or technical capabilities is procedurally flawed. This overlooks the critical interdependencies within an organization and can lead to an unrealistic plan that is difficult to execute, potentially causing project failure and wasted resources. Ethically, it demonstrates a lack of consideration for the impact on other departments. An approach that bypasses direct communication with the IT department and escalates the issue immediately to senior management without attempting to resolve it at the operational level is premature. While escalation can be necessary, doing so without first exploring collaborative solutions can damage interdepartmental relationships and create an adversarial environment. This can hinder future quality improvement efforts that require cross-functional support. An approach that assumes the IT department will automatically accommodate the quality improvement team's timeline without consultation is based on an unfounded assumption. This lack of proactive engagement and verification can lead to significant delays and misunderstandings, undermining the credibility of the quality improvement initiative and potentially violating the principle of due diligence in planning and execution. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a problem-solving approach that prioritizes open communication, mutual understanding, and collaborative planning. When faced with interdepartmental challenges, the first step should be to initiate dialogue with the affected parties to understand their perspectives, constraints, and potential contributions. This should be followed by a joint effort to develop a mutually agreeable plan that addresses the quality improvement goals while respecting operational realities. If consensus cannot be reached, a structured escalation process, involving clear documentation of the issue and attempted solutions, should be followed. Question 4. Process analysis reveals a slight upward trend in customer complaint resolution times over the past quarter, with some individual instances exceeding the target by a small margin. Several team members have expressed anecdotal observations about increased workload and communication breakdowns. What is the most appropriate next step for a certified quality improvement associate to interpret these results and guide process optimization? Option A. Adjust the target resolution time to reflect the current average, considering the observed trend as a new baseline for performance. Option B. Focus on retraining staff on existing procedures, assuming that a decline in adherence to standard operating procedures is the primary driver of the increased resolution times. Option C. Initiate a comprehensive root cause analysis, employing statistical tools to identify significant factors contributing to the observed trend and any outliers, before proposing targeted interventions. Option D. Immediately implement a new communication protocol and reassign tasks to address the perceived workload issues based on team member feedback. The correct answer is C. Initiate a comprehensive root cause analysis, employing statistical tools to identify significant factors contributing to the observed trend and any outliers, before proposing targeted interventions. Explanation: this scenario is professionally challenging because it requires the certified quality improvement associate to interpret process data and recommend improvements while adhering strictly to the principles of quality improvement and the ethical guidelines governing their practice. The challenge lies in distinguishing between statistically significant changes and those that are merely random variation, and in ensuring that any proposed changes are data-driven and aligned with the overarching goals of process optimization, without introducing bias or making unsubstantiated claims. Careful judgment is required to avoid overreacting to minor fluctuations or overlooking subtle but important trends. The correct approach involves a thorough examination of the process data, identifying any statistically significant deviations from expected performance, and then investigating the root causes of these deviations. This aligns with the fundamental principles of quality improvement, which emphasize data-driven decision-making and a systematic approach to problem-solving. By focusing on statistically significant results, the associate ensures that interventions are targeted at genuine issues, thereby optimizing resource allocation and maximizing the likelihood of achieving desired improvements. This approach is ethically sound as it promotes objectivity and evidence-based practice. An incorrect approach would be to make recommendations based on anecdotal evidence or superficial observations without rigorous statistical validation. This fails to uphold the integrity of the quality improvement process, as it relies on subjective interpretation rather than objective data. Such an approach can lead to ineffective or even detrimental changes, wasting resources and potentially eroding trust in the quality improvement function. Furthermore, it deviates from the ethical obligation to provide accurate and reliable information to stakeholders. Another incorrect approach would be to attribute all observed variations to a single, easily identifiable cause, without conducting a comprehensive root cause analysis. This oversimplification ignores the complex interplay of factors that often influence process performance. It can lead to the implementation of solutions that address only a symptom, rather than the underlying problem, resulting in a recurrence of the issue or the emergence of new ones. This lack of thoroughness is a failure in professional due diligence and can undermine the credibility of quality improvement efforts. A third incorrect approach would be to focus solely on achieving a specific numerical target without understanding the underlying process dynamics or the potential impact of the proposed changes on other aspects of the process. Quality improvement is not merely about hitting numbers. It's about understanding and improving the system that generates those numbers. This narrow focus can lead to unintended consequences and may not result in sustainable improvements. The professional reasoning process for similar situations should involve 1. Clearly defining the problem and the objectives of the quality improvement initiative. 2. Collecting relevant and reliable data. 3. Analyzing the data using appropriate statistical tools to identify significant trends and deviations. 4. Conducting a thorough root cause analysis for identified issues. 5. Developing and implementing data-driven solutions. 6. Monitoring the impact of the implemented solutions and making adjustments as necessary. 7. Communicating findings and recommendations clearly and objectively to stakeholders. Question 5. System analysis indicates a recurring customer complaint regarding inconsistent product performance. The quality team has identified that the issue appears sporadically and is difficult to replicate. What is the most appropriate approach for developing and implementing a corrective and preventive action, COPPA, to address this situation, ensuring compliance with quality management principles and regulatory expectations? Option A. Implement immediate process adjustments based on the most frequent, though unconfirmed, suspected cause of the inconsistency, and close the COPPA once the adjustments are made. Option B. Issue a product recall to address the immediate customer dissatisfaction, and then conduct a superficial review of the production process to identify any obvious deviations. Option C. Conduct a comprehensive root cause analysis using data-driven investigation techniques to identify all potential contributing factors. Develop targeted corrective actions to eliminate the confirmed root causes, and implement preventive actions to mitigate the risk of similar issues arising in other product lines or processes. Option D. Focus solely on improving customer communication to manage expectations regarding product performance variability, without investigating the underlying cause of the inconsistency. The correct answer is A. Implement immediate process adjustments based on the most frequent, though unconfirmed, suspected cause of the inconsistency, and close the COPPA once the adjustments are made. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires balancing the immediate need to address a quality issue with the long-term implications of a COPPA effectiveness and compliance. The Certified Quality Improvement Associate must not only identify the root cause, but also ensure the implemented actions are sustainable and prevent recurrence, all while adhering to the specific regulatory framework governing their practice. The pressure to quickly close out an issue can lead to superficial solutions, which is a common pitfall in quality management. The correct approach involves a thorough investigation to identify the true root cause of the nonconformance, followed by the development and implementation of effective corrective actions to eliminate the identified cause. Crucially, it also necessitates the implementation of preventive actions to address potential causes of similar nonconformances that have not yet occurred. This comprehensive approach ensures that the COPPA system is robust and contributes to continuous improvement, aligning with the principles of quality management and regulatory expectations for preventing product or service failures. Regulatory frameworks, such as those overseen by the FDA for medical devices or pharmaceuticals in the U.S., mandate that COPPA must be effective in preventing recurrence and must be documented thoroughly, demonstrating a systematic approach to problem solving and risk mitigation. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on addressing the immediate symptom without investigating the root cause fails to comply with the fundamental purpose of a COPPA. This superficial fix does not prevent the underlying issue from resurfacing, leading to repeated nonconformances and potential regulatory noncompliance. It demonstrates a lack of due diligence in problem solving and a failure to implement effective controls. Another incorrect approach that implements corrective actions but neglects to consider or implement preventive actions misses a critical component of a robust COPPA system. While the immediate problem might be addressed, the potential for similar issues to arise in other areas or under different circumstances remains unmitigated. This oversight can lead to systemic weaknesses and a failure to achieve true quality improvement, potentially violating regulatory requirements for proactive risk management. A third incorrect approach that relies on anecdotal evidence or assumptions rather than data-driven investigation to determine the root cause is fundamentally flawed. Regulatory bodies emphasize the importance of objective evidence in quality system investigations. Basing actions on assumptions can lead to ineffective solutions, wasted resources, and a failure to address the actual problem, thereby undermining the integrity of the COPPA process and potentially leading to regulatory scrutiny. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a structured approach. First, clearly define the problem and gather objective data. Second, conduct a thorough root cause analysis using appropriate tools and techniques. Third, develop and implement corrective actions to address the identified root cause and preventive actions to mitigate potential future issues. Fourth, verify the effectiveness of implemented actions through monitoring and data analysis. Finally, document the entire process meticulously, ensuring compliance with all applicable regulations and internal procedures. Question 6. The assessment process reveals that a healthcare organization is experiencing a recurring issue with medication administration errors. The quality improvement team is considering different methodologies to address this. Which of the following approaches best aligns with the principles of rigorous process improvement and regulatory expectations for patient safety? Option A. Adopting a structured, data-driven methodology like DMAIC, define, measure, analyze, improve, control, to systematically identify root causes, implement solutions, and sustain improvements. Option B. Implementing a rapid, ad hoc brainstorming session to generate quick fixes for the identified errors. Option C. Focusing solely on retraining staff without investigating the underlying systemic factors contributing to the errors. Option D. Relying on anecdotal evidence and staff opinions to make immediate changes to the medication administration protocol. The correct answer is B. Implementing a rapid, ad hoc brainstorming session to generate quick fixes for the identified errors. Explanation. The assessment process reveals a common challenge in quality improvement, selecting the most appropriate methodology for a given problem. Professionals must navigate the nuances of different process improvement approaches, understanding their strengths, weaknesses, and the specific regulatory context in which they operate. The Certified Quality Improvement Associate exam emphasizes applying these methodologies within the framework of relevant quality standards and ethical considerations, rather than purely theoretical application. The correct approach involves a thorough understanding of the problem's scope, the organizational context, and the desired outcomes, aligning the chosen methodology with established quality principles and regulatory expectations. For instance, if the problem involves a complex, multifaceted issue with potential patient safety implications, a structured, data-driven approach like Six Sigma, which emphasizes defect reduction and variation control, would be highly appropriate. This aligns with regulatory requirements for patient safety and continuous improvement found in quality management systems. An incorrect approach would be to arbitrarily select a methodology without proper analysis, or to apply a methodology in a way that disregards its core principles or regulatory compliance. For example, using a superficial checklist approach for a complex process without data collection or root cause analysis would fail to address underlying issues and could lead to noncompliance with quality standards that mandate systematic problem-solving. Similarly, adopting a methodology solely based on its popularity or perceived ease of implementation, without considering its suitability for the specific problem and regulatory environment, is a significant professional failing. This can lead to wasted resources, ineffective solutions, and potential regulatory scrutiny. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with a clear definition of the problem and its impact. This should be followed by an assessment of available resources, organizational culture, and regulatory requirements. The selection of a process improvement methodology should then be a deliberate choice, justified by its alignment with these factors and its potential to achieve measurable improvements while ensuring compliance. This systematic approach ensures that quality initiatives are effective, efficient, and ethically sound. Question 7. Operational review demonstrates that a new, streamlined process for data entry has the potential to significantly reduce processing time and associated labor costs. However, concerns have been raised about whether this new process fully maintains the existing level of data accuracy and compliance with all relevant quality control procedures. Which of the following approaches best addresses the potential impact of this proposed process standardization? Option A. Conduct a comprehensive impact assessment that evaluates the proposed process standardization against all relevant quality metrics, regulatory requirements, and stakeholder feedback for full implementation. Option B. Immediately implement the new process to realize the cost savings, assuming that any minor deviations in quality can be addressed through subsequent corrective actions. Option C. Focus the impact assessment solely on the reduction of processing time and labor costs, as these are the primary drivers for the proposed change. Option D. Prioritize the speed of implementation to gain a competitive advantage, with a plan to validate the process's effectiveness and compliance retrospectively. The correct answer is A. Conduct a comprehensive impact assessment that evaluates the proposed process standardization against all relevant quality metrics, regulatory requirements, and stakeholder feedback before full implementation. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires balancing the immediate need for efficiency gains through process standardization with the potential for unintended negative consequences on quality and compliance. The Certified Quality Improvement Associate must exercise careful judgment to ensure that standardization efforts do not inadvertently create risks or violate established regulatory requirements. The correct approach involves a thorough impact assessment that considers the potential effects of standardization on all relevant quality metrics, regulatory compliance, and stakeholder satisfaction. This approach is right because it aligns with the fundamental principles of quality management, which emphasize a systematic and data-driven approach to process improvement. Specifically, it adheres to the spirit of regulatory frameworks that mandate proactive risk management and the maintenance of quality standards. By evaluating potential impacts before implementation, the associate ensures that standardization enhances, rather than compromises, the organization's ability to meet its quality objectives and regulatory obligations. This proactive stance is ethically sound as it prioritizes patient safety, product integrity, and adherence to legal requirements. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on cost reduction without considering quality implications is professionally unacceptable. This failure stems from a disregard for regulatory mandates that often link process efficiency to quality outcomes and patient safety. Such an approach risks introducing noncompliance by overlooking critical control points or validation requirements embedded within the standardized process. Another incorrect approach that prioritizes speed of implementation over thorough validation is also professionally unacceptable. This haste can lead to the adoption of a standardized process that has not been adequately tested or proven to maintain quality standards or meet regulatory specifications. This can result in downstream quality issues, potential product defects, or noncompliance with reporting or documentation requirements, all of which carry significant regulatory and ethical ramifications. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a structured risk assessment framework. This framework should include identifying potential impacts of any proposed change, evaluating the likelihood and severity of those impacts, and developing mitigation strategies. For process standardization, this means actively seeking input from all affected departments, conducting pilot studies, and performing rigorous validation to ensure that the standardized process is robust, reliable, and compliant with all applicable regulations before full-scale implementation. Question 8. Investigation of a significant deviation between expected patient satisfaction scores and actual reported scores in a healthcare setting reveals that the survey administration process has been inconsistently followed by different staff members. Some staff are reportedly skipping certain questions or providing their own interpretations of questions to patients. What is the most appropriate next step for the quality improvement team? Option A. Proceed with analyzing the existing data, acknowledging the potential for bias, and focus on identifying broad trends rather than specific actionable insights. Option B. Instruct all staff to administer the survey exactly as written, without any further investigation into why the current process is failing. Option C. Immediately revise the patient satisfaction survey to simplify questions and reduce the potential for misinterpretation. Option D. Conduct a thorough root cause analysis of the inconsistent survey administration to identify specific training needs and procedural gaps, and then implement targeted corrective actions. The correct answer is C. Immediately revise the patient satisfaction survey to simplify questions and reduce the potential for misinterpretation. Explanation. This scenario presents a common challenge in quality improvement. Ensuring data collected accurately reflects the intended process and is analyzed appropriately to drive meaningful improvements, all while adhering to the principles of the Certified Quality Improvement Associate (CQIA) framework. The professional challenge lies in balancing the need for timely data with the imperative for data integrity and the ethical considerations of using potentially flawed information. Careful judgment is required to avoid drawing incorrect conclusions that could lead to misdirected improvement efforts or even negative consequences for patients or the organization. The correct approach involves a systematic review of the data collection process to identify and address the root cause of the discrepancy. This aligns with the CQIA emphasis on using reliable data for decision-making and the fundamental quality principle of understanding and controlling processes. By investigating the source of the error, the team can implement corrective actions to ensure future data is accurate and representative. This proactive and thorough method upholds the ethical responsibility to base quality improvements on sound evidence, preventing the perpetuation of errors or the implementation of ineffective interventions. An incorrect approach would be to proceed with analysis using the flawed data without addressing the underlying issue. This fails to meet the CQIA standard for data integrity and could lead to erroneous conclusions. The ethical failure here is the potential to make decisions based on misleading information, which could negatively impact patient care or organizational resources. Another incorrect approach would be to dismiss the discrepancy without investigation, assuming it's a minor anomaly. This ignores the potential for systemic issues within the data collection process and violates the principle of continuous improvement, which requires understanding and addressing all deviations. Finally, an approach that focuses solely on the outcome of the analysis without considering the quality of the input data is also flawed. This overlooks the critical first step of ensuring data validity, rendering any subsequent analysis potentially meaningless or misleading. Professionals should approach such situations by first acknowledging the discrepancy and then initiating a structured investigation. This involves forming a team defining the problem, gathering information about the data collection process, identifying potential causes for the error, and implementing solutions. The decision-making process should prioritize data integrity and the ethical implications of using data, ensuring that any conclusions drawn are based on accurate and reliable information. Question 9. Benchmark analysis indicates that a competitor has significantly reduced their employee training costs by implementing shorter, less comprehensive training modules. Your organization is considering a similar cost-saving measure for its Quality Improvement Associate Training Program. Which of the following approaches best aligns with the principles of quality improvement and regulatory compliance? Option A. Prioritize the cost savings by selecting the cheapest available training option, regardless of its content or duration, to maximize immediate financial benefits. Option B. Immediately adopt the competitor's shorter training modules to achieve comparable cost savings, assuming that any training is sufficient to meet basic compliance needs. Option C. Implement the shorter training modules and rely on on-the-job experience to compensate for any perceived gaps in formal training. Option D. Conduct a thorough gap analysis to determine if the proposed shorter modules adequately cover all essential quality principles, regulatory requirements, and practical application skills necessary for effective job performance, and only proceed if effectiveness is demonstrably maintained. The correct answer is D. Conduct a thorough gap analysis to determine if the proposed shorter modules adequately cover all essential quality principles, regulatory requirements, and practical application skills necessary for effective job performance, and only proceed if effectiveness is demonstrably maintained. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires balancing the immediate need for cost savings with the long-term imperative of maintaining a competent and compliant workforce. The Certified Quality Improvement Associate must navigate the potential for reduced training effectiveness and its downstream impact on quality and regulatory adherence. Careful judgment is required to ensure that any training adjustments do not compromise the organization's ability to meet its quality objectives and regulatory obligations. The correct approach involves a thorough assessment of the impact of proposed training changes on the skills and knowledge necessary for employees to perform their roles effectively and compliantly. This includes evaluating whether the proposed shorter training modules adequately cover essential quality principles, regulatory requirements, and practical application. The justification for this approach lies in the fundamental principle of ensuring competence, which is a cornerstone of quality management systems and often a direct or indirect regulatory requirement. For example, under general quality management principles, organizations are expected to ensure that personnel are competent on the basis of education, training skills, and experience. Any reduction in training must be demonstrably proven not to diminish this competence, especially in areas critical to regulatory compliance. An incorrect approach would be to immediately adopt the cheaper, shorter training modules without a rigorous evaluation of their effectiveness. This fails to uphold the responsibility to ensure adequate training and competence, potentially leading to non-compliance with quality standards and regulations. Specifically, this could violate principles requiring documented evidence of training effectiveness and the maintenance of a competent workforce. Another incorrect approach would be to prioritize cost savings above all else, even if the shorter modules are demonstrably less effective or omit critical information. This demonstrates a failure to understand the interconnectedness of training, quality, and regulatory adherence, risking significant downstream consequences such as product defects, service failures, and regulatory sanctions. This approach neglects the ethical obligation to provide employees with the necessary tools and knowledge to perform their jobs safely and effectively, and it disregards the organization's commitment to quality. A further incorrect approach would be to assume that any training is better than no training, and therefore accept the cheaper option, without considering the specific content and learning outcomes. This overlooks the crucial aspect of quality in training. It's not just about the act of training, but the effectiveness of that training in achieving desired knowledge and skill acquisition. This can lead to a false sense of compliance, while actual competence remains deficient. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a systematic evaluation of any proposed changes to training programs. This includes 1. Understanding the current training objectives and regulatory requirements. 2. assessing the proposed changes against these objectives and requirements. 3. Evaluating the potential impact on employee competence and organizational quality. 4. Seeking evidence-based justification for the effectiveness of any proposed alternative. 5. Consulting with relevant stakeholders, including subject matter experts and compliance officers. 6. Prioritizing long-term quality and compliance over short-term cost savings when there is a risk to either. Question 10. The assessment process reveals a proposal for a novel data collection method intended to streamline patient feedback, but concerns have been raised about its potential to introduce new data integrity issues and impact existing reporting timelines. Which of the following approaches best addresses this situation from a quality improvement and regulatory compliance perspective? Option A. Conduct a comprehensive risk assessment to identify potential data integrity issues and timeline impacts, develop mitigation strategies, and then pilot the new method in a controlled environment. Option B. Proceed with the new method, focusing solely on the potential improvements in patient feedback collection without formally evaluating associated risks or timeline impacts. Option C. Reject the proposal outright due to the potential for disruption and the introduction of unknown variables into established processes. Option D. Immediately implement the new data collection method to capitalize on its perceived efficiency benefits, assuming any issues can be addressed reactively. The correct answer is A. Conduct a comprehensive risk assessment to identify potential data integrity issues and timeline impacts, develop mitigation strategies, and then pilot the new method in a controlled environment. Explanation. The assessment process reveals a common challenge in quality improvement, balancing the need for innovative solutions with the inherent risks associated with new approaches. Professionals must carefully consider the potential impact of innovations on established processes, patient safety, and regulatory compliance. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a proactive and systematic approach to identifying and mitigating risks before they materialize, ensuring that innovation drives improvement without compromising quality or compliance. The correct approach involves a comprehensive risk assessment that systematically identifies potential hazards, analyzes their likelihood and impact, and develops appropriate control measures. This aligns with the core principles of quality management, which emphasize a proactive, data-driven, and systematic approach to problem-solving and continuous improvement. Specifically, regulatory frameworks for quality improvement, such as those overseen by bodies like the FDA in the U.S., assuming this is the relevant jurisdiction for the Certified Quality Improvement Associate exam, mandate a thorough understanding and management of risks associated with changes to processes, especially those impacting product quality or patient care. This proactive risk assessment ensures that innovations are implemented safely and effectively, minimizing the likelihood of adverse events and maintaining compliance with established standards. An incorrect approach would be to implement innovative ideas without a formal risk assessment. This fails to identify potential pitfalls, such as unintended consequences on existing quality controls, increased likelihood of errors, or non-compliance with regulatory requirements. Such an approach disregards the ethical obligation to ensure patient safety and the regulatory mandate to maintain high standards of quality. Another incorrect approach is to dismiss innovative ideas solely because they represent a departure from current practices. While caution is warranted, a rigid adherence to the status quo can stifle progress and prevent the adoption of potentially superior solutions. This approach fails to leverage the creative potential of the team and may lead to missed opportunities for significant quality enhancement. Finally, focusing only on the potential benefits of an innovation without considering the associated risks is a flawed strategy. While enthusiasm for improvement is valuable, it must be tempered with a realistic appraisal of potential downsides. This oversight can lead to unforeseen problems that undermine the intended benefits and create new quality or compliance issues. The professional decision-making process for similar situations involves a structured approach. 1. Identify the proposed innovation. 2. Conduct a thorough risk assessment involving relevant stakeholders to identify potential hazards, analyze their likelihood and impact, and determine the level of risk. 3. Develop and implement appropriate risk mitigation strategies. 4. Monitor the effectiveness of the innovation and the risk controls. 5. Document the entire process, including the risk assessment and mitigation plans, for regulatory and internal review. Question 11. When evaluating a recurring quality issue in a manufacturing process, and the initial data suggests a specific operator error, what is the most ethically and professionally sound approach for a certified quality improvement associate to take in conducting the root cause analysis? Option A. Immediately implement retraining for the operator identified as making the error, assuming that individual performance is the sole cause of the recurring problem. Option B. Focus the investigation solely on documenting the operator's mistakes and recommending disciplinary action, as this will deter future errors. Option C. Conduct a comprehensive root cause analysis that systematically investigates all potential contributing factors, including process design, equipment, training, and environmental conditions, to identify the fundamental reasons for the recurring issue, regardless of initial assumptions. Option D. Postpone the root cause analysis until management provides clearer direction on how to address the issue without negatively impacting departmental performance metrics. The correct answer is C. Conduct a comprehensive root cause analysis that systematically investigates all potential contributing factors, including process design, equipment, training, and environmental conditions, to identify the fundamental reasons for the recurring issue, regardless of initial assumptions. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing the immediate need to identify the root cause of a quality issue with the ethical obligation to ensure that the investigation is conducted impartially and without undue influence. The Certified Quality Improvement Associate must navigate potential conflicts of interest and maintain the integrity of the quality improvement process. Careful judgment is required to uphold professional standards and regulatory compliance. The correct approach involves a thorough and unbiased root cause analysis, focusing on objective data and evidence. This aligns with the principles of quality improvement, which emphasize data-driven decision-making and continuous improvement. Specifically, the Certified Quality Improvement Associate must adhere to the ethical guidelines of the Certified Quality Improvement Associate Program, which mandate integrity, objectivity, and a commitment to the public good. This involves systematically identifying contributing factors, validating findings, and recommending corrective actions that address the fundamental causes, rather than superficial symptoms. The regulatory framework for quality improvement, as understood within the context of the Certified Quality Improvement Associate exam, emphasizes transparency and accountability in these processes. An incorrect approach would be to prematurely conclude the root cause based on personal assumptions or pressure from management. This fails to uphold the principle of objectivity, as it bypasses the necessary steps of thorough investigation and data validation. Ethically, this could lead to the implementation of ineffective solutions, potentially allowing the quality issue to persist or reoccur, which is contrary to the associate's duty to ensure quality and safety. Furthermore, it undermines the credibility of the quality improvement process and could violate regulatory requirements for robust quality management systems that demand evidence-based problem-solving. Another incorrect approach involves focusing solely on assigning blame to individuals rather than identifying systemic issues. This is ethically problematic as it can foster a culture of fear and discourage open reporting of problems, hindering future improvement efforts. It also deviates from the core tenet of root cause analysis, which seeks to understand the underlying processes and conditions that led to the error, not simply to punish individuals. Regulatory frameworks often promote a just culture that encourages learning from mistakes without undue retribution, focusing on system improvements. A third incorrect approach is to delay or obstruct the investigation due to concerns about potential negative consequences for the department or individuals. This is ethically unsound as it prioritizes self-preservation or departmental protection over the commitment to quality and patient/customer safety. It also violates the professional responsibility to contribute to a safe and effective environment, which is a cornerstone of quality improvement principles and often a regulatory expectation. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a commitment to the core principles of quality improvement: data-driven decision-making, objectivity, thoroughness, and a focus on systemic improvement. When faced with potential conflicts or pressures, the Certified Quality Improvement Associate should rely on established methodologies for root cause analysis, consult relevant ethical guidelines and professional standards, and if necessary, seek guidance from supervisors or professional bodies to ensure the integrity and effectiveness of the quality improvement initiative. Question 12. Risk assessment procedures indicate that a new quality improvement initiative aimed at reducing patient readmission rates requires comprehensive stakeholder engagement. Which of the following approaches best ensures effective communication with all relevant parties? Option A. Restrict communication primarily to senior leadership, assuming they will cascade relevant information to their teams as necessary. Option B. Communicate project updates only when significant milestones are achieved or when formal reporting is required by regulatory bodies. Option C. Provide all stakeholders with highly technical reports filled with quality improvement jargon to ensure they understand the scientific basis of the initiative. Option D. Develop a detailed communication plan that identifies all stakeholders, their information needs, preferred communication channels, and a schedule for regular updates, incorporating feedback mechanisms. Correct answer is D. Develop a detailed communication plan that identifies all stakeholders, their information needs, preferred communication channels, and a schedule for regular updates, incorporating feedback mechanisms. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because effective communication with stakeholders is paramount for the success of any quality improvement initiative. Stakeholders, ranging from frontline staff to senior management and potentially external regulatory bodies, have varying levels of interest, influence, and understanding of quality improvement processes. Mismanaging communication can lead to resistance, lack of buy-in, misallocation of resources, and ultimately, the failure of the initiative. The challenge lies in tailoring communication to meet diverse needs while ensuring accuracy, transparency, and adherence to established quality standards and reporting requirements. The correct approach involves proactively identifying all relevant stakeholders, understanding their information needs and concerns, and developing a communication plan that outlines the frequency, method, and content of communication. This plan should be flexible enough to adapt to evolving project needs and feedback. This approach is correct because it aligns with the principles of good governance and ethical practice in quality improvement, which emphasize transparency, accountability, and inclusivity. Regulatory frameworks often mandate clear and consistent communication regarding quality metrics, patient safety, and process changes. By engaging stakeholders early and often, an organization demonstrates a commitment to open dialogue and fosters trust, which is essential for sustainable quality improvement. An incorrect approach would be to communicate only when issues arise or when reporting is mandated. This reactive approach fails to build relationships, address potential concerns before they escalate, or foster a culture of continuous improvement. Ethically and regulatorily, this can lead to a lack of awareness among those who need to implement changes, resulting in non-compliance and potential harm. Another incorrect approach is to provide overly technical or jargon-filled updates to all stakeholders, regardless of their background. This can alienate stakeholders who are not familiar with quality improvement terminology, leading to disengagement and a perception that the initiative is not relevant to their roles. This violates the principle of clear and accessible communication, which is often implicitly or explicitly required by quality standards and regulatory bodies to ensure understanding and effective participation. A third incorrect approach is to limit communication to only senior management, assuming they will disseminate information as needed. This bypasses crucial frontline staff and other operational stakeholders who are directly involved in implementing quality improvements. This can lead to a disconnect between strategic goals and operational realities, hindering effective implementation and feedback loops, and potentially contravening regulatory requirements for reporting and engagement at all relevant levels. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a systematic stakeholder analysis. This includes identifying who needs to know what, when, and how. A robust communication plan should be developed, reviewed, and updated regularly. Professionals should prioritize clarity, conciseness, and relevance in all communications, tailoring messages to the audience. Seeking feedback and actively listening to stakeholder concerns are critical components of this process, ensuring that communication is a two-way street and that the quality improvement initiative remains aligned with organizational goals and stakeholder expectations. Question 13. Analysis of a scenario where a medical device manufacturer observes an increase in a specific type of defect in a critical component during routine production monitoring. The Quality Improvement Associate is tasked with investigating this trend. Considering the regulatory framework of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA for quality systems. Which of the following approaches best reflects the application of statistical thinking to address this issue? Option A. Focus efforts on increasing the frequency of final product inspection to catch more defective components, thereby ensuring that only compliant products reach the market, without investigating the root cause of the increased defects. Option B. Implement immediate adjustments to the manufacturing equipment settings based on the latest observed defect rates, without further data analysis, to quickly reduce the current defect count. Option C. Classify the observed increase in defects as a minor fluctuation within acceptable historical ranges and continue routine monitoring without further investigation, assuming it will self-correct. Option D. Conduct a thorough statistical analysis of historical and current production data to identify potential sources of variation, differentiate between common cause and special cause variation, and then implement targeted corrective actions based on the findings. The correct answer is B. Implement immediate adjustments to the manufacturing equipment settings based on the latest observed defect rates, without further data analysis, to quickly reduce the current defect count. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires the quality improvement associate to interpret and apply statistical thinking principles within the context of regulatory compliance, specifically concerning the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, guidelines for medical device quality systems. The challenge lies in moving beyond simple data collection to understanding the underlying processes and potential for variation, which is crucial for ensuring product safety and efficacy. Careful judgment is required to select an approach that not only addresses the immediate quality concern, but also aligns with the FDA's expectations for a robust quality management system. The correct approach involves using statistical thinking to identify and address the root cause of the observed variation in the manufacturing process. This means recognizing that variation is inherent in any process, and that understanding its sources, common cause vs. special cause, is key to effective improvement. By employing statistical tools to analyze the data, the associate can differentiate between random fluctuations and assignable causes, leading to targeted and effective corrective actions. This aligns with FDA Quality System Regulation 21 CFR Part 820, which mandates that manufacturers establish and maintain procedures for process validation and control. Specifically, 21 CFR 820-75 requires that processes where the results cannot be fully verified by subsequent inspection and test must be validated with a high degree of assurance that the process will consistently produce a product meeting its predetermined specifications. Statistical methods are fundamental to this validation and ongoing monitoring. An incorrect approach would be to simply adjust the process parameters based on the most recent data points without understanding the underlying statistical behavior. This reactive approach fails to address potential systemic issues and may lead to further instability or an inability to detect true special cause variation. It also neglects the FDA's emphasis on proactive risk management and process understanding. Another incorrect approach would be to dismiss the observed variation as insignificant without statistical analysis. This overlooks the potential for even small variations to impact product quality and patient safety over time, which is a critical concern for the FDA. The regulatory framework expects a thorough investigation of deviations and potential quality issues, not a superficial dismissal. A third incorrect approach would be to focus solely on meeting immediate production targets, without considering the long-term implications of process variation on product quality and compliance. This short-sighted perspective fails to embrace the continuous improvement ethos embedded in quality management systems and regulatory expectations. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve 1. Understanding the regulatory context and specific requirements, e.g., FDA 21 CFR Part 820. 2. Recognizing the importance of statistical thinking in process control and improvement. 3. Employing appropriate statistical tools to analyze data and identify sources of variation. 4. Developing and implementing corrective and preventive actions based on a sound understanding of the process and its statistical behavior. 5. Documenting all analyses and actions in accordance with regulatory requirements. Question 14. Cost-benefit analysis shows that implementing a new advanced analytics platform could significantly enhance predictive capabilities for identifying quality deviations. However, the platform requires integration with multiple existing data sources, some of which have known historical data quality issues. Which of the following approaches best balances the potential benefits with the need for reliable data and regulatory compliance? Option A. Conduct a comprehensive data audit and cleansing of all historical data before full integration, followed by a phased pilot implementation of the new platform with a subset of validated data. Option B. Focus on leveraging the platform's advanced algorithms to infer missing or inaccurate data points, assuming the platform can compensate for historical data deficiencies. Option C. Immediately integrate all data sources into the new platform to maximize the speed of realizing potential benefits, addressing data quality issues reactively as they arise. Option D. Prioritize integration with the most readily available and seemingly accurate data sources first, deferring the integration of problematic sources until later, and relying on the platform's inherent error detection. The correct answer is C. Immediately integrate all data sources into the new platform to maximize the speed of realizing potential benefits, addressing data quality issues reactively as they arise. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing the potential benefits of a new data-driven decision-making tool against the risks and complexities of its implementation within a regulated environment. The Certified Quality Improvement Associate must not only understand the technical aspects of data utilization, but also navigate the ethical and regulatory landscape governing data privacy and integrity. Careful judgment is required to ensure that the chosen approach aligns with established quality improvement principles and adheres to all applicable regulations. The correct approach involves a phased implementation that prioritizes data validation and pilot testing. This strategy is correct because it allows for the systematic identification and mitigation of potential data integrity issues before widespread adoption. Regulatory frameworks for quality improvement, such as those often referenced in professional certifications, emphasize the importance of reliable data for decision-making. Pilot testing ensures that the data collected is accurate, complete, and relevant, thereby supporting sound quality improvement initiatives. This aligns with the ethical obligation to use data responsibly and to avoid making decisions based on flawed information, which could lead to ineffective or even harmful outcomes. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on rapid deployment without adequate data validation poses significant regulatory and ethical risks. Such an approach could lead to decisions based on inaccurate or incomplete data, violating the principle of evidence-based decision-making. This could result in wasted resources, missed opportunities for improvement, and potentially non-compliance with quality standards that mandate the use of reliable data. Another incorrect approach that neglects to consider data privacy and security during implementation is also professionally unacceptable. Regulatory guidelines, particularly in sectors dealing with sensitive information, mandate strict adherence to data protection laws. Failing to incorporate these considerations from the outset can lead to breaches of privacy, legal penalties, and damage to the organization's reputation. A professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a thorough risk assessment, stakeholder consultation, and a phased implementation plan. This plan should include clear metrics for evaluating data quality, pilot testing protocols, and robust data governance policies that address privacy and security. The Certified Quality Improvement Associate should always prioritize approaches that ensure data integrity, ethical use, and regulatory compliance, thereby fostering a culture of continuous improvement built on a foundation of trustworthy information. Question 15. The evaluation methodology shows that a quality improvement team has successfully implemented a new process that significantly reduced customer complaints. To foster continued employee engagement in quality initiatives, which of the following approaches to employee motivation and recognition is most aligned with the principles of a Certified Quality Improvement Associate? Option A. Award a one-time monetary bonus to each team member based on the percentage reduction in complaints, without further explanation of the specific process changes that contributed to the outcome. Option B. Implement a tiered recognition program that includes public acknowledgement of the team's success, a tangible reward such as a team lunch or professional development opportunity, and clear communication on how their specific actions led to the reduction in complaints. Option C. Publicly highlight the team's success in a company-wide meeting, but also use this forum to discuss the remaining areas where quality needs improvement, implying that the current success is insufficient. Option D. Provide a generic thank you note to the team at the end of the quarter, without detailing the specific quality improvement achieved or its impact. The correct answer is B. Implement a tiered recognition program that includes public acknowledgement of the team's success, a tangible reward such as a team lunch or professional development opportunity, and clear communication on how their specific actions led to the reduction in complaints. Explanation. This scenario presents a common challenge in quality improvement, fostering a culture of continuous improvement through effective employee motivation and recognition, while adhering to the principles and guidelines relevant to the Certified Quality Improvement Associate (CQIA) designation. The challenge lies in balancing the need for tangible results with the ethical and professional imperative to treat employees fairly and transparently. A key aspect is understanding how recognition programs can be designed to genuinely drive quality improvement without creating unintended negative consequences or violating ethical standards. The correct approach focuses on a multifaceted recognition strategy that links individual and team contributions directly to quality improvement objectives. This involves clearly defining what constitutes a quality improvement achievement, ensuring recognition is timely and specific, and offering a variety of rewards that are meaningful to employees. This aligns with the CQIA emphasis on data-driven decision-making and ethical conduct, promoting a sustainable system where employees feel valued for their contributions to quality. Such an approach fosters intrinsic motivation by acknowledging effort and impact, which is crucial for long-term engagement in quality initiatives. An incorrect approach that relies solely on monetary bonuses tied to arbitrary metrics fails to address the nuanced nature of quality improvement. Quality is not always easily quantifiable in the short term, and focusing only on financial rewards can lead to employees gaming the system or prioritizing easily measurable, but less impactful changes. This can also create perceptions of unfairness if the metrics are not well understood or if the distribution of bonuses is not transparent, potentially undermining morale and trust, which are foundational to a positive quality culture. Another incorrect approach that uses public shaming for missed targets or errors is ethically reprehensible and counterproductive to quality improvement. This creates a fear-based environment, discouraging employees from reporting issues or taking calculated risks necessary for innovation. Such a practice violates principles of respect and dignity, and it actively hinders the open communication and learning that are essential for identifying and addressing root causes of quality problems. This approach is fundamentally at odds with fostering a collaborative and learning-oriented quality environment. A third incorrect approach that offers generic, infrequent recognition without specific links to quality achievements dilutes the impact of appreciation. Employees need to understand how their efforts directly contribute to the organization's quality goals. Without this connection, recognition can feel hollow and fail to reinforce desired behaviors. This approach misses the opportunity to celebrate specific quality wins and learn from them, thereby failing to build a strong quality improvement narrative within the organization. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a thorough understanding of the organization's quality objectives, the specific behaviors that drive quality improvement, and the diverse motivational needs of the workforce. It requires designing recognition programs that are transparent, equitable, and directly tied to demonstrable contributions to quality. Professionals should consult relevant ethical guidelines and organizational policies to ensure all recognition practices are fair and foster a positive, improvement-focused culture. Question 16. Research into optimizing a manufacturing process has identified several potential areas for improvement based on statistical analysis of production data. The quality improvement team is considering different strategies to implement these changes and ensure sustained quality, which approach best embodies the principle of engagement of people in process optimization. Option A. Conducting a series of training sessions on the new procedures derived from the data analysis, without soliciting initial input or feedback from the staff performing the work. Option B. Implementing the optimized processes immediately based on the statistical analysis, with a directive for all staff to adhere to the new procedures. Option C. introducing new technology solutions identified through the analysis, assuming that automation will inherently improve the process and require minimal staff adaptation. Option D, presenting the data-driven findings to the frontline staff and facilitating workshops for them to co-develop and refine the proposed process changes, followed by comprehensive training and empowerment for implementation. The correct answer is D, presenting the data-driven findings to the frontline staff and facilitating workshops for them to co-develop and refine the proposed process changes, followed by comprehensive training and empowerment for implementation. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in quality improvement, balancing the need for efficient process optimization with the imperative to genuinely engage and empower the people who perform the work. The challenge lies in recognizing that superficial engagement or a top-down imposition of changes, even if technically sound, can lead to resistance, decreased morale, and ultimately, a failure to achieve sustainable quality improvements. Professionals must exercise careful judgment to ensure that process changes are not only effective, but also embraced by the workforce. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves actively involving frontline staff in identifying process inefficiencies and co-creating solutions. This aligns with the principles of engagement of people, a cornerstone of quality management frameworks. By soliciting input, providing training on new processes, and empowering staff to implement and monitor changes, organizations foster a sense of ownership and commitment. This approach is ethically sound as it respects the expertise of individuals and promotes a collaborative work environment. From a regulatory perspective, while specific regulations might not dictate the exact method of engagement, the underlying principles of fostering a safe and effective working environment, which is enhanced by engaged employees, are often implicitly or explicitly supported by quality standards and best practices that underpin regulatory compliance in many sectors. Incorrect approach is analysis. Implementing changes solely based on data analysis without consulting the affected staff overlooks the practical realities and potential unforeseen consequences that frontline workers understand best. This approach fails to engage people, potentially leading to resistance and a lack of buy-in, which undermines the sustainability of the improvements. Ethically, it can be seen as disregarding the valuable knowledge and experience of employees. Mandating new procedures without explaining the rationale or providing adequate training creates a disconnect between management's objectives and the workforce's understanding and capability. This can lead to errors, frustration, and a perception of being undervalued, directly contradicting the engagement of people principle. It also poses a risk to quality and safety if staff are not equipped to perform tasks correctly. Focusing only on technological solutions without considering the human element of process change ignores the fact that technology is a tool, and its effectiveness depends on how people use it. This approach can lead to resistance if staff feel their roles are being devalued or if the technology is not user-friendly, failing to engage people in the adoption and optimization of the new tools. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a decision-making framework that prioritizes a human-centered approach to process optimization. This involves 1. Understanding the current process from the perspective of those who execute it. 2. Identifying opportunities for improvement through a combination of data analysis and direct observation and consultation with staff. 3. Collaboratively designing solutions that leverage both data insights and frontline expertise. 4. Providing comprehensive training and support for any new processes or technologies. 5. Establishing mechanisms for ongoing feedback and continuous improvement, ensuring staff remain engaged. This iterative and collaborative process ensures that improvements are not only technically sound, but also practically implementable and sustainable due to the active participation and commitment of the workforce. Question 17. The risk matrix shows a moderate risk associated with a critical project deadline being missed due to unforeseen technical challenges. During a team meeting to brainstorm solutions, one team member, who is known for their detailed analysis but is typically quiet in group discussions, has not offered any suggestions. The project lead is concerned about the lack of input from this individual, as their insights are often valuable. What is the most appropriate course of action for the project lead? Option A. Directly ask the quiet team member for their specific thoughts on the technical challenges and potential solutions, creating a dedicated moment for them to share their perspective. Option B. Proceed with the solutions proposed by the more vocal team members, assuming the quiet member would have spoken up if they had significant contributions. Option C. Acknowledge the quiet team member's lack of input and suggest that their contributions might be less critical for this particular problem. Option D. Publicly encourage the quiet team member to speak up more, emphasizing the need for everyone to contribute equally to meet the deadline. Correct answer is A. Directly ask the quiet team member for their specific thoughts on the technical challenges and potential solutions, creating a dedicated moment for them to share their perspective. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing the immediate need for project progress with the ethical obligation to ensure all team members are heard and their contributions are valued. The pressure to meet deadlines can sometimes lead to overlooking the importance of inclusive collaboration, which is fundamental to sustainable quality improvement. Careful judgment is required to navigate the competing demands of efficiency and ethical team dynamics. The correct approach involves actively seeking out the quieter team members' input and facilitating their participation. This aligns with the principles of effective teamwork, which are implicitly supported by the Certified Quality Improvement Associate Framework's emphasis on process improvement through collective intelligence and diverse perspectives. Ethically, it upholds the dignity and value of each individual's contribution, fostering a psychologically safe environment where all team members feel empowered to share their insights. This inclusive practice is crucial for identifying potential risks and opportunities that might otherwise be missed, thereby enhancing the overall quality of the project. An incorrect approach of proceeding without the quieter team members' input risks overlooking critical information or potential issues. This failure to ensure comprehensive team engagement can lead to suboptimal decision-making and potentially flawed quality improvements, directly contradicting the goals of a Certified Quality Improvement Associate. It also creates an environment where team members may feel undervalued, leading to decreased morale and future collaboration challenges. Another incorrect approach of dismissing the quieter team members' potential contributions as less important or time-consuming is ethically unsound and professionally detrimental. It devalues individual expertise and can stifle innovation. This approach ignores the possibility that the quieter member may possess unique insights or identify risks that others have not considered, which is a direct failure in comprehensive risk assessment and quality assurance. A further incorrect approach of directly confronting the quieter team member in a public forum about their lack of participation can be counterproductive and damaging to team cohesion. While addressing the issue is important, the method of doing so must be sensitive and constructive. Publicly singling out an individual can lead to embarrassment, defensiveness, and further withdrawal, undermining the very collaboration the team aims to foster. This approach fails to consider the psychological impact on the individual and the team's overall dynamic. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that prioritizes open communication, active listening, and a commitment to inclusive practices. When faced with a situation where a team member is not actively participating, the first step should be to understand the underlying reasons, which may involve private, empathetic inquiry. The next step is to create structured opportunities for that individual to contribute, such as assigning specific roles or asking for their perspective on particular aspects of the project. This approach ensures that all voices are considered, leading to more robust quality improvement initiatives and a stronger, more cohesive team. Question 18. Comparative studies suggest that when initiating a quality improvement project focused on understanding the overall scope and identifying key stakeholders before detailed analysis, which process mapping tool is most effective for establishing a shared understanding of the process boundaries and critical elements? Option A. A fishbone Ishikawa diagram. Option B. A SIPOC suppliers, inputs, process, outputs, customers diagram. Option C. A detailed multi-level flowchart. Option D. A simple narrative description of the process steps. The correct answer is B. A SIPOC, suppliers, inputs, process, outputs, customers diagram. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires an associate to select the most effective process mapping tool for a specific quality improvement initiative, balancing the need for detail with the goal of clear communication and stakeholder buy-in. The Certified Quality Improvement Associate designation implies a commitment to adhering to established quality principles and potentially regulatory frameworks that govern quality management. though this specific question focuses on best practices within the field rather than specific external regulations. The challenge lies in understanding the nuances of each tool and their suitability for different contexts. The correct approach involves selecting the tool that best aligns with the project's objectives and the audience's needs. SIPOC suppliers, inputs, process, outputs, customers, diagram is ideal for providing a high-level overview of a process, identifying key stakeholders and elements, and establishing the scope of a quality improvement project. This is crucial in the initial phases of improvement to ensure everyone understands the big picture before delving into granular details. This approach aligns with the fundamental quality principle of understanding the system and its boundaries, which is a prerequisite for effective improvement. It promotes clarity and consensus among diverse stakeholders, a cornerstone of successful quality initiatives. An incorrect approach would be to immediately opt for a highly detailed flowchart for a project that is in its early stages of scope definition. While flowcharts are excellent for illustrating the step-by-step sequence of a process, using one prematurely without a clear understanding of the overall process boundaries and key players, as provided by SIPOC, can lead to an overwhelming amount of detail that obscures the main improvement opportunities. This can hinder stakeholder engagement and lead to inefficient use of resources, deviating from the principle of focused improvement efforts. Another incorrect approach would be to solely rely on a process narrative or a simple list of steps. While these can convey information, they lack the visual and structured representation that process mapping tools provide. This can lead to misinterpretations, omissions, and a failure to identify critical dependencies or potential bottlenecks, undermining the systematic approach required for quality improvement. It does not facilitate a shared understanding of the process as effectively as a visual map. Finally, choosing a tool without considering the intended audience's familiarity with process mapping techniques would be an error. For example, presenting a complex, multi-level flowchart to executives who need a quick understanding of the process's impact on customer satisfaction might be ineffective. The professional reasoning process should involve 1. Clearly defining the objective of the process mapping exercise. 2. Identifying the intended audience and their level of understanding. 3. Evaluating the complexity and scope of the process being mapped. 4. Selecting the tool that best meets these criteria to facilitate understanding, communication, and ultimately, effective quality improvement. Question 19. Cost-benefit analysis shows that a proposed change to a manufacturing process for a critical pharmaceutical ingredient could significantly reduce production costs. However, preliminary internal discussions suggest this change might introduce subtle variations in the ingredient's physical properties, the long-term impact of which on product stability and patient efficacy is not fully understood. The Certified Quality Improvement Associate is tasked with recommending the best course of action. Option A. Recommend proceeding with the cost-saving change immediately, as the potential cost savings are substantial and the risk of significant impact is considered low by some experienced personnel. Option B. Recommend proceeding with the cost-saving change after implementing enhanced final product testing to catch any downstream issues. Option C. Recommend deferring the change until further research can definitively prove there is zero risk to product quality and patient safety, even if it means foregoing immediate cost savings. Option D. Recommend a phased implementation of the process change, coupled with a comprehensive validation study and rigorous risk assessment to thoroughly evaluate its impact on ingredient quality, product stability, and patient safety before full adoption. The correct answer is B. Recommend proceeding with the cost-saving change after implementing enhanced final product testing to catch any downstream issues. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires balancing the immediate financial benefits of a proposed change against potential long-term risks to product quality and patient safety, which are paramount in the pharmaceutical industry. The Certified Quality Improvement Associate must exercise sound judgment to ensure that any quality improvement initiative aligns with regulatory expectations and ethical obligations. The correct approach involves a comprehensive evaluation that extends beyond immediate cost savings to consider the potential impact on product quality, regulatory compliance, and patient well-being. This aligns with the core principles of quality management and the stringent regulatory framework governing pharmaceuticals, such as those enforced by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA. Specifically, it necessitates a thorough risk assessment to identify any potential adverse effects on product efficacy, safety, or manufacturing processes. This proactive stance is ethically mandated to protect public health and legally required to maintain compliance with good manufacturing practices, GMP, and other relevant regulations. An incorrect approach that prioritizes only cost reduction without adequately assessing quality and regulatory implications fails to uphold professional responsibility. Such an approach could lead to non-compliance with FDA regulations, potentially resulting in product recalls, manufacturing shutdowns, and severe reputational damage. Ethically, it represents a dereliction of duty to ensure product safety and efficacy. Another incorrect approach that focuses solely on implementing the change due to perceived market pressure, without a robust quality and risk assessment, is equally flawed. This bypasses the critical due diligence required to ensure that the proposed change does not compromise established quality standards or introduce new risks. It ignores the regulatory requirement for thorough validation and change control processes. A further incorrect approach that relies on anecdotal evidence or the opinions of a few individuals, rather than systematic data and rigorous analysis, demonstrates a lack of professional rigor. Quality improvement in a regulated industry demands evidence-based decision-making, adherence to established methodologies, and a commitment to objective evaluation, all of which are foundational to regulatory compliance and ethical practice. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with clearly defining the problem and objectives. This is followed by a thorough data collection and analysis phase, including a comprehensive risk assessment. Potential solutions are then evaluated based on their impact on quality, safety, regulatory compliance, and cost-effectiveness. The chosen solution must be validated and monitored to ensure its effectiveness and to identify any unintended consequences. This systematic, data-driven, and risk-aware process is essential for making sound professional decisions in a regulated environment. Question 20. Regulatory review indicates that a medical device manufacturer is experiencing recurring issues with a specific component leading to minor product malfunctions. As a certified quality improvement associate, which problem-solving approach best aligns with the principles of risk management and regulatory compliance for addressing this situation? Option A. Implement solutions based on the feedback from the most vocal customer complaints regarding the component, assuming they represent the most critical issues. Option B. Rely on the historical experience of senior engineers to implement a quick fix for the component, as they have encountered similar issues before. Option C. Prioritize addressing the component issues based on a thorough risk assessment that evaluates the potential severity and likelihood of each type of malfunction, and then implement solutions targeting the highest risk areas first. Option D. Focus immediate efforts on resolving the component issues that have been reported most frequently, as these are likely the most significant problems. The correct answer is C. Prioritize addressing the component issues based on a thorough risk assessment that evaluates the potential severity and likelihood of each type of malfunction, and then implement solutions targeting the highest risk areas first. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a quality improvement associate to balance the need for efficient problem solving with the imperative to adhere to established regulatory frameworks and ethical guidelines. The pressure to deliver solutions quickly can sometimes lead to shortcuts that compromise thoroughness and compliance. A careful judgment is required to ensure that the chosen problem-solving technique not only addresses the root cause, but also aligns with the principles of risk management, as mandated by relevant quality standards and regulatory bodies. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves systematically identifying potential risks associated with the identified problem and its proposed solutions. This aligns with the core principles of quality management systems, which emphasize proactive risk assessment to prevent adverse outcomes and ensure patient safety or product integrity. Regulatory frameworks, such as those governing medical devices or pharmaceuticals, depending on the specific jurisdiction for the Certified Quality Improvement Associate exam, which is assumed to be U.S.-based for this example, referencing FDA guidelines, mandate a risk-based approach to quality. This means understanding the likelihood and severity of potential failures or non-compliance before implementing solutions. By prioritizing risks, the associate ensures that resources are allocated effectively to address the most critical issues first, thereby minimizing potential harm and ensuring compliance with quality standards. Incorrect approach is analysis, focusing solely on the most frequently occurring issues without assessing their potential impact is an incorrect approach. This overlooks the severity of less frequent but potentially catastrophic problems, which is a direct contravention of risk-based quality principles. Regulatory bodies expect a comprehensive understanding of all potential failure modes, not just those that happen most often. Implementing solutions based on the loudest complaints or the most vocal stakeholders, without a structured analysis of the underlying causes or risks, is also incorrect. This approach is subjective and can lead to addressing symptoms rather than root causes, potentially wasting resources and failing to achieve sustainable improvement. It also bypasses the systematic risk assessment required to ensure that solutions do not introduce new, unmanaged risks. Relying on anecdotal evidence or personal experience without objective data and a structured problem-solving framework is professionally unsound and ethically questionable. This approach lacks the rigor demanded by quality standards and regulatory oversight, which require data-driven decision-making and documented processes. It fails to provide a defensible basis for actions and can lead to inconsistent or ineffective outcomes, potentially violating quality regulations. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a structured, data-driven approach to problem-solving, always beginning with a thorough understanding of the problem and its potential impact. This involves utilizing tools that facilitate root cause analysis and, critically, integrating risk assessment into every stage of the problem-solving process. When faced with a quality issue, the decision-making process should involve 1. Clearly defining the problem. 2. Gathering objective data. 3. Identifying potential root causes. 4. Conducting a risk assessment of identified causes and potential solutions, considering likelihood and severity. 5. Selecting and implementing solutions based on the risk assessment and potential for improvement. 6. Monitoring the effectiveness of implemented solutions and making adjustments as needed. This systematic and risk-informed approach ensures compliance, promotes continuous improvement, and upholds professional integrity.